Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny.
You know what time it is, so sit back and get ready for the Stafford Voice, your dose of conservative in a world of liberal.
3, 2, 1.
Hey, how you doing? I know it seems a little strange to be hearing me, but I'm back, baby. I'm your host, Daniel Stafford, and you are listening to the Stafford Voice, where we are conservative in a world of liberal. Tonight, we got a smorgasbord of stuff to talk about, and we're going to jump right into that here shortly. I want to remind you there are many ways to listen. Wherever you are, set that channel as a favorite, whatever you have to do so you don't get left behind. The last thing you want to do is be uninformed. And if for some strange, crazy reason you do miss the show, you can catch the replay. So just sit tight. There's no need to panic because I've got you. And in the case you aren't already following on social media, find me over on the Twitters at Stafford Voice or on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, wherever you are. All you have to do is search for the Stafford Voice, and there we are. Well, as I said, I am back, and I couldn't be any more excited. I am super stoked to be back with you guys live to talk about the issues at hand. And first off, I want to get this off my chest. I want to apologize to each and every one of you that is listening. If you're not in the chat room right now, please jump over there. Head over to k98talk.org/chat room. Join a couple of my friends. I see Angie's still there. We've got Slick. We've got Tina. It looks as though Angie's technician, a.k.a. Pole, is still hanging out. Apparently hasn't found the unplug button, so we're thankful for that. But, again, I want to apologize to you guys, and I know that I really don't need to. But back around March, somewhere around March, things got a little messed up in my head. And some of the depression kicked in. And, unfortunately, I was not able to control it. And it pretty much brought my life to a halt. And I had to stop. I had to put things on pause. I had to find myself. I had to figure out what was happening, how I could get back into control. I hate not being in control of myself. Well, let's fast forward in time, and, I know that many of you have stayed caught up with me on social media, and many of you have reached out and wished well wishes, but I did stay busy. I did put out a couple of little podcasts here and there about some things that I felt were important, and I also, and Tina, Slick, love you too. But here's the thing, I didn't just sit there and mope around. I did try and get control of myself. I tried to stay in control. As a matter of fact, one of the things my wife and I do is we volunteer at a local homeless shelter. And we're on the committee. We're part of the committee that helps plan the once a year fundraising auction. And if you've never volunteered at something at that level, you really have no idea what goes on behind the scenes to organizations like, for instance, a homeless shelter. There are many hands that make light work for those who really need help. And so, like I was saying, my wife and I, we volunteer at this local homeless shelter. And so here we are in the midst of heavy planning for this auction coming up. It was at the end of June, the last Thursday of June. And leading up to this, I was approached by some of the other people on the committee, and they wanted me to put together a video. One of those Sarah McLachlan type videos or Trace Adkin videos, where the wounded warriors, you see them. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love our military. So I'm not downplaying what Trace Atkins is trying to do with helping raise money. I'm downplaying Wounded Warriors Project. I'm not a big fan. And you got Sarah McLachlan with the sad cats and the dogs and really, really sad music. Well, I got tasked with making one of those videos. Please, if you haven't watched it, I would really appreciate if you head over to my YouTube's channel and find it and watch it. It's a little over 6 minutes. I realize that you may have to put down your phone if you're playing Pokemon Go. You're going to have to put it down long enough to watch 6 minutes of an incredible organization that I'm so blessed to be a part of and to have put that video together. Please feel free to go watch it. If you like it, hit the thumbs up button or leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. I had such a blast putting that video together. And Angie, thanks for the welcome back. I'm super excited. Thank you for reaching out to me as many times as you did to check in on me. It did not go unnoticed, and my wife thanks each and every one of you as well. Okay, so I want to rewind just a little bit. If I come across this scatterbrains, again, it's because I'm super excited to be back, and I've got so many things on my mind. And I'm a little rusty. So I probably should have oiled up before the show started. But it is what it is. So let me rewind just a minute. Because I want to go back to when some of the depression was hitting. And I was realizing that, and this happened since putting the show on pause. I realized that I was doing a lot of things wrong. I lost perspective of what I was doing. And that's one of the main reasons why I had to put the show on pause. I lost focus. I lost focus about you guys as the listener. I lost focus about what was happening in my family. I was putting so much time and effort into things, and I really forgot who I was. So, Slick, you're awesome. Thanks. I lost who I was. Long story short, I have sorted out a lot of things in my mind. And to keep me on track, here's what I've done. And this is only about 4 days in the making. I've reached out to these individuals and explained to them really what they mean to me, and they were by my side the whole time, and really reached out in a way that I never thought that some of them would reach out and be there the way they were. So here's what I did. I needed some level of accountability. So I put together an accountability group of 4 guys. I'm gonna keep them named. I'm not gonna throw them out there right now. But my heart goes out to them and their willingness to help keep me accountable on certain things, and to make sure that I'm not only staying true to myself, but staying true to the brand of the Stafford Voice, and staying true to you guys as a listener. Because, to be honest, all 4 of them our listeners, and I bounced so many ideas off of the four of them over the last few weeks and months that they are a big part as to why I'm back. And also, I want to give a shout out to JD and Stacy. JD and Stacy are some pretty cool cats. They reached out to me a couple of times when I was in some pretty dark moments, and just by them reaching out and checking in and saying, dude, what's up, lifted my spirits beyond what I was anticipating. So thanks to JD and Stacy, thanks to Rick, thanks to Angie and Paul, thanks to so many of you guys out there, and I'm beyond humbled to not only call you guys friends, but as I've explained many times before, if you listen to this show, I hope you feel like you're part of a family. And I want to welcome a new member, Jessica Sanders. I see you hanging out there in the chat room. Thanks for tuning in tonight. It really does mean a lot. Okay, enough of enough of that stuff. I'm sweating my backside off. Somebody left the door to Hades open earlier here in the Midwest, and I'm dying here. Before we get to our first break, and that's going to be coming up here shortly, but that's beside the point. You guys know me for some of my more intense, we'll say, more intense monologues. And I'm going to probably jump right into this because if I don't, I'm going to lose some of my thoughts. Over the weekend, something hit me. Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. was the complete opposite of what we're witnessing right now with Black Lives Matter. With the BLM movement, completely opposite. And I'm going to go into a speech that I personally did not even, I had no idea he delivered this speech. But he touched on some very, very key things, and I want to share them with you. This speech was back in 1964, December of 1964. This was his Nobel lecture. It's tied, if you want to go out and read it for yourself, it's called The Quest for Peace and Justice. And I'm just going to jump right into here where he says there's a sort of poverty of the spirit. Okay? That's really what's at focus right here, ladies and gentlemen. We've lost the spirit of America. Not everybody, but I'm speaking for the majority. The majority of people have lost the spirit of what it is to be not only an American, but to be part of this country. And then he goes on to say, the richer we have become materially, the poorer we have become morally and spiritually. That is absolutely spot on. We are so focused on the things of the world, so focused on making sure we've got a shiny new car out in the driveway. I could care less. My car's got over 250,000 miles. My truck, my big red truck, has over 200,000 miles. I don't need the shiniest car on the block. I just need something to get me from point A to point B so I can accomplish something. So I don't loaf. So I'm not a burden on somebody else. And he goes in to say this. Every man lives in two realms, the internal and the external. The internal is that realm of spiritual ends expressed in art, literature, morals, and religion. The external is that complex of devices, techniques, mechanisms, and instrumentalities by means of which we live. Our problem today is that we have allowed the internal to become lost in the external. We've allowed the means by which we live to outdistance the ends for which we live. So much of modern life can be summarized in that arresting dictum of poet Thoreau, where he said, quote, "Improved means to an unimproved end." Chew on that for a second. Now, I want you to think about something. I want you to think about this. Sitting at church, and the speaker is talking about something that was addressed earlier on in the year. And he quoted a guy by the name of Wilford W. Anderson, where he said, "The greater the distance between the giver and the receiver, the more the receiver develops a sense of entitlement." That explains where we are today. We are where we are because so many people feel entitled to something. They're too damn scared to go out there and work their ass off to get what they want for themselves. They want somebody else to go out and do it for them. And it ticks me off to no end. Let me repeat that. The greater the distance between the giver and the receiver, the more the receiver develops a sense of entitlement. If you're out there receiving and you're not giving anything to society or to your local community, you've developed a sense of entitlement that everybody else can give you something. Everybody else owes you. And look at that in relation to Black Lives Matter. That's what we're seeing. We are seeing the most privileged demographic of the United States. And I'm not afraid to say that. You can quote me on this. The most privileged demographic of the United States is out there protesting because their lives matter over somebody else's. You know what? You're wrong. The value of your life is equal to the person next to you. It's no more or no less. The value of my life is no greater than the life of my son, no greater than the life of my wife. As a matter of fact, it's less than them. It's my goal in life to lift people up, not to bring them down. And that's what Black Lives Matter wants to do. They want to bring everybody down. Oh, but heaven forbid if I say it, the only people they want to lift up are themselves, the blacks. They don't care about whites. Let me listen to this. I was going to save this until later, but I've got something else. I've got something else for the Who Said That I'm still scratching my head at. This is from a city councilman named Dwight Boykins of District D. He's a city councilman in Houston, and this is what he says. I quote, word for word, "I think at this point, because of the crisis situation, not in Houston but throughout the country, we need to have officers patrolling areas that reflect the ethnicity of that community, because that will eliminate second guessing. People know their community, they know their culture, and I think that can make a difference." You want to have a guess at what color this councilman is? He's a black guy. Now we want to segregate the damn... Excuse me. This guy's This guy pissed me off earlier. Now we want to segregate communities, and we want to stick black cops in a black community and put white cops in a white community. Suck it, because you don't deserve to be a city councilman and you don't voice the opinion of anybody that you represent. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. You know, not too long after Mike Brown was gunned down. And I'm not taking anybody's side here. I'm not taking anybody's side in any of the killings that have happened over the last week. Because I don't know all the facts. So you know what? I'm going to shut my mouth. I'm not going to point blame on anybody until all of the facts are released. Then I will make a conclusion. Then, if protests need to be held, then protests need to be held. Do we have crooked cops? Yes. Are there thugs out there in the community that force cops to fear their life? Yes. At the end of the day, the cop wants to go home, and at the end of the day, that thug wants to be able to go back to their crib and sip on some Hennessy and smoke a fat blunt. Each one of them, respectively, want to be able to go home. Neither one of them want to go home in a damn body bag. What the hell is this? The 1960s where we're segregating communities now? Now we want to segregate schools? You want to take all the black kids and round them up and send them off to a black school and all the white kids go to a white school? Where in the hell have we gone as a country? We've forgotten where we've come from. We've forgotten everything that we've worked so hard for. I'm going to go back to what King was saying in his speech. He said, violence as a way of achieving racial justice is both impractical and immoral. I'm not unmindful of the fact that violence often brings about momentary results. Nations have frequently won their independence in battle, but in spite of temporary victories, violence never brings permanent peace. It solves no social problem. It merely creates new and more complicated ones. Violence is impractical because it is a descending spiral ending in destruction for all. It is immoral because it seeks to humiliate the opponent rather than win his understanding. It seeks to annihilate rather than convert. Violence is immoral because it thrives on hatred rather than love. It destroys community and makes brotherhood impossible. It leaves society in monologue rather than dialogue. Violence ends up defeating itself. It creates bitterness in the survivors and brutality in the destroyers. Does that not precisely describe what we're seeing happen right before our eyes? And again, this was 1964 when he said this. This is 2016. It's easy to say that violence fixes all of the problems. It's easy to go out there and say, kill them all and let God sort them out. But at the end of the damn day, the only thing it does, it leaves one person standing and feeling superior over everybody else because he was able to control the situation. Rather than humbling yourself and listening to the next guy. You know, the funny thing about the word listen, the exact same letters that spell listen, spell silent. Think about that. And when we come back from a break, we're going to change things up a bit. A little bit different than what you're normally used to here on the Stafford Voice. I'm your host, Daniel Stafford, and yes, we are conservative in a world of liberal. We'll be right back. don't know about you, but I'm not the type of guy that jumps into anything without first doing my research. And when I was looking for a holster, I'll admit I was having one heck of a time. You know what I'm talking about here. You find one you like, you try it on, it would be clunky. Another one fits good, but costs way too much. So you try on one last holster, it was slim, lightweight, priced right, but lo and behold, you slide your pistol in, and it falls right out. So what do? You've tried all these mass market holsters. Well, go custom. I know what you're thinking. I thought it too. Too pricey. Wrong. My guy over at Rebel Road Tactical will not only put together the perfect fitting, hand-molded, hand-assembled, custom Kydex holster, but you'll get it at an affordable price. Don't wait. Contact Rebel Road Tactical today at 682-217-4579. Again, that's 682-217-4579. Place your order.
Stop it. It's the dramatic reinvention of Talk Radio.
Here come the Spy Dolphins.
The only thing that can cure racism is Robert E. Lee's penis.
Who named this cat Limberbutt McCubbin? A Trump-Biden debate.
Plugs versus rugs. Real serious nonsense. The show's so bad, you'll laugh at us.
The worst podcast. We obviously hold that title.
Mondays, 9 p.m. Eastern on K98 Talk.
Some crowdfunding sites are too liberal and keep more for themselves. Even worse, if they don't like you or someone gets offended, they'll cancel your campaign. But not at RWNJ Funding. They hold true to conservative and libertarian values. Plus, they won't cave to the PC crowd. More importantly, they believe in you. RWNJFunding.com. The right cause, the right values, done right. RWNJFunding.com.
Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Conservative in a world of liberal.
The Stafford Voice.
All right, we're back, and I gotta finish typing this to Slick. He's in the chat room. I don't think it. Okay, if you are a long-time listener, usually around this part, we jump into something called On This Day in History. We're going to leave that one on pause for now. I know a lot of you out there enjoyed the... I know a lot of you guys out there enjoyed the On This Day in History, and to be quite honest, I really honestly enjoyed putting those together and doing the research on that stuff. And before I get into our news segment that's going to cover the next I think 56 weeks or 56 shows, that is, I want to touch back on something that I forgot to bring up. And that is something that I'm calling the law of intimidation. The law of intimidation right now is threatening almost every level of our rights and threatening so many things that we have fought so hard for as a country. Do not let people intimidate you, and do not let people silence you. Remember, listen has the same letters as silent. Be silent and listen, and then try and win over their hearts and minds. Some people you can't do that with. They are completely irrational. And for the most part, Black Lives Matter is irrational. Okay, so I want to introduce you guys to our new segment. Our new segment is called Profiles in History. And this week, we're going to talk about Samuel Adams. Samuel Adams was born on September 27th, 1722, in Boston. And Samuel was named after his father. And at the age of 14, he began attending Harvard to study theology. His interests later shifted to politics, and within a few years, he would get his first taste of Britain's Parliament after they passed an act that drew a significant blow to his family's wealth. Well, Adams continued to study at Harvard after graduating in 1740, and in 1743 he wrote his master's thesis titled, quote, "Whether it be lawful to resist the supreme magistrate, if the commonwealth cannot be otherwise preserved." Now, the basic idea was whether or not it was legal for the kingdom to force the same taxes and laws on the colonies as they did the people of England. It was very early on in Samuel Adams's life that he believed the state, or any political society for that matter, should be free to govern itself. And in January of 1748, he and some of his friends started a political newspaper to discuss these very issues that was unfortunately later shut down by British authorities. In 1748, he lost his father, and the following year, his mother. His inheritance was rather large, but managing business and finances was not his strong suit. Coupled with legal battles, Adams found the family brewery in bankruptcy. On October 17, 1749, he married Elizabeth Checkley, and together they had 2 children, a son and a daughter. She passed away in 1757, and in 1764 he married Elizabeth Wells. His cousin John Adams said of Sam that he was too attentive to the public and not enough to himself and his family. Well, after his second marriage, he quickly gained power within the Massachusetts legislative body. It was here where he and others objected to Britain's Parliament taxing them without being properly represented. He was worried that things like the Stamp Act and the Sugar Act would establish an oppressive rule over the colonies. In a Boston town meeting in May of 1764, he was chosen to write the legislators to tell them what they should do about the Stamp Act. He suggested they call for all the colonies to come together in order to coordinate their opposition. And Adams knew that if people understood their rights, they would rise to defend them. Fast forward to the year 1770, where Boston was a powder keg waiting to explode. And in March, it did just that when British troops fired upon a small group of civilians who were throwing snowballs and taunting them, which was also known as the Boston Massacre. Well, Adams recognized a glaring problem in trying to unite the colonies. Sympathetic governors in favor of British policy would shut down the separate legislators before they could act or communicate on problems that didn't favor that of British policy. So, in November 1772, Adams set up a correspondence committee where towns would appoint committees to keep each other informed on what was happening. Outside of the king's control, it was basically the framework for the revolution. In the Boston harbor sat a shipment of tea waiting to be unloaded. Well, the North End Caucus and the Boston Committee of Correspondence both agreed they didn't want the taxed tea to be unloaded. Rather, they wanted it returned to England. Now, a standoff commenced as the royal government appointees wouldn't allow its return, and the deadline to unload it was December 17th, 1773. However, on the 16th, Governor Thomas Hutchinson refused. Then, at the conclusion of a town meeting, Adams said this, quote, "This meeting can do nothing more to save the country," unquote. It's as if it was a signal to men dressed like Indians who went and destroyed the tea by throwing it into the Boston harbor. Now, Adams knew in order to decide how the colonies should respond to this and other crises and attacks on their liberties, they would need to unite. His idea was to form a body that could represent the common interests of the colonies, or in other words, a Continental Congress. And in cunning manner, Massachusetts legislature approved the resolution and even selected delegates, one of which was Sam Adams. Now, Adams went to the 1774 Continental Congress in Philadelphia wearing a new suit that his friends provided. While there, he worked behind the scenes tirelessly, trying to move things along, developed friendships with other delegates, and to establish the revolutionary movement as something that wasn't just a dream in Boston, but an American dream. As a threat to that dream, Governor and British commander Thomas Gage sent his army to capture weapons and supplies at Lexington and Concord on the night of April 18th, 1775. Now, they were also to capture Adams and a friend of his named John Hancock. Providing their narrow escape was a warning from Paul Revere. The British were not successful. Even though they decimated the local militia, word spread and more colonists got wind and forced the British to retreat. And in what became the first battle of the American Revolutionary War, Adams knew what the battle meant and later said that a Declaration of Independence should have been made immediately. Adams later got his wish a year later when he voted for independence on July 2nd, 1776, and later approving the written Declaration of Independence on July 4th. Signed it on August 2nd. It was everything he had worked for. He had also served on the committee that drafted the Articles of Confederation, which he also signed. In 1787, he refused to attend the Constitutional Convention, opposing the Constitution until it had the promise of a Bill of Rights. In 1797, Adams retired from public life and passed away without a penny to his name on October 2nd, 1803, in Boston. Now, not too early prior to his death, he, in a writing to Samuel P. Savage, Adams said, "I now begin to promise myself the pleasure of seeing the liberties of our country established on a solid foundation. It will then be my most earnest wish to be released from all public cares and sit down with my family and a little circle of faithful friends in the cottage of obscurity. There we will give thanks to the God of heaven for the things that he has done for America, and fervently pray that she may be virtuous, without which she cannot long enjoy the blessings of freedom." Later on, John Adams said of his cousin's contributions, "Without the character of Samuel Adams, the true history of the American Revolution can never be written. For 50 years, his pen, his tongue, his activity were constantly exerted for his country without fee or reward." And that is this week's Profiles in History. Now, like I said earlier, for the next, well, not counting today, so we've got 55 more weeks. 55 weeks after today, we're going to profile every single person that signed the Declaration of Independence. Every week you're going to learn of a new man who risked their life, risked their fortunes, even risked the lives of their family members. And my hope with this series, this Profiles in History series, is as we continue to look at these men, we get a better sense of what we need to do as Americans to right the wrongs that we've made. We are far off course, and there's no... If we don't take action now... If we don't take action now here in America, within the next few months or years, we will forever lose what we thought we had. Now, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I want to highlight a couple of things that old Jebediah Bush had to say about Donald Trump. Now, this is hot off the press. So hot off the press that as we're talking about it, he's actually saying it. But we've got some very, very interesting quotes of some stuff that he has said in his first interview about Donald Trump. We're going to cover some of that, and then we'll jump into probably yours and my favorite segment, second to the history stuff, because that I thrive on the history. Because if you don't know where we came from, you don't know where we're going. Well, we'll dive into who said that, and that's coming up on the other side of the break. I am your host, Daniel Stafford. You are tuned into the Stafford Voice, where we are conservative in a world of liberal. We'll be right back.
K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level, or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com.
This is JD.
And this is Stacy.
Join us Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern for Game On. Remember,
Lock up the children and the old folks.
Game On, the home of conservative conservatism.
Where no one is safe and no one is spared. Not even the hosts.
Oh, that was supposed to be a spin cycle. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. We love you anyway. Right round, baby.
Self-monitoring
right
Ebola
anyway.
radio strikes again.
Anyway.
Anybody see the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? For God's sake, I need an antidote. Just do your rant. Let's pop out of the segment.
Has to do with
Find us on Twitter at JD and Stacy.
You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Whether you're an employee or business owner, when it comes to the correct course of legal action, it's the first step that is important. And make that first step with attorney Ted Hong. You need someone you can trust and has the experience you need when it comes to workplace and employment law. If you've lost your employment due to discrimination, false accusations, or being denied benefits, you need Ted Hong. Or if you're an employer who wants to ensure compliance with workplace regulations and labor contracts, you need Ted Hong. Ted and his team also cover family and property law and estate litigation as well. Ted has over 30 years of experience, and him and his amazing legal team will provide you cost-effective legal consultation and make the experience all about you and your needs. For more information or to set up a consultation, contact the law office of Ted Hong at 808-933-1919 or visit tedhonglaw.com. Ted Hong, an experienced and principled attorney you can trust. 808-933-1919 or tedhonglaw.com.
Conservative in a world of liberal.
The Stafford Voice.
All right. Thank you for tuning in. And as I was saying before going to break, Jeb Bush, this was his first conversation since Trump basically became the nominee. Now, again, this is before the convention, so put on your tinfoil hats. We really don't know what could happen when it comes time to the convention. We really don't know. So, okay, take your tinfoil hats off. So, these are the first remarks from Jeb Bush about Trump since Bush got out of the race and Trump became the presumptive nominee. Here are just some of his comments. he said that voters will feel betrayed because of some of the campaign promises, from building the wall to banning non-American Muslims, and how that would never materialize. And then he also went on to say, Trump, to his credit, was very smart at exploiting these kind of opportunities. He's a master at understanding how the media works, more than anybody I've seen in politics. And kudos to him for, kind of creating the environment and then manipulating the environment to his effect. And then to go back to what he was saying earlier about how voters will feel betrayed, he said, the tragedy of this, though, is that there isn't going to be a wall built, and Mexico's not going to pay for it. And there's not going to be a ban on Muslims. It's like an alternative universe he created, and people are going to be deeply frustrated, and the divides will grow in our country. This extraordinary country, still the greatest country on earth, will continue to stagger instead of soar. And that's the heartbreaking point of this, is that I think people are really going to be betrayed. I completely agree. I think if he becomes president, I think that many people are going to come to terms with what a lot of other people were saying. And that is, he's a fraud. Wah, wah, wah. Yes, okay, whatever. But I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed in Trump. That's all I'm going to say. But that's right. It is time for Who Said That? Now, if you are new to the show, which some of you are, some of you aren't, if you're new to the show, you don't know what Who Said That is. Here's what it is. Somebody out there, some high-profiled, high-patootie person, has said something so incredibly stupid that we just have to highlight it, make fun of them. It doesn't matter whether they're a Republican or a Democrat, conservative, libertarian, liberal. It doesn't matter. If you're completely stuck on stupid, we want to share it with everybody because we don't want to we want to give freely, okay? We want to be able to share. Okay, so this week, you'll be able to pick it out pretty quick, okay? It's going to make me sick to have to listen to it again, but here it goes.
And I am persistent, and I will call for white people like myself to put ourselves in the shoes of those African American families who fear every time their children go somewhere, who have to have the talk about how to really protect themselves when they're the ones who should be expecting protection from encounters with the police. I'm going to be talking to white people. I think we're the ones who have to start listening to the legitimate cries that are coming from our African American fellow citizens. And we have so much more to be done, and we've got to get about the business of doing it. We can't be engaging in hateful rhetoric or incitement of violence. We need to be bringing people together. And I've said on the campaign trail repeatedly, we need more love and kindness. And I know that's not usually what presidential candidates say, but I believe it, and I'm going to be speaking about it from now all the way into the White House and beyond.
Oh, that's right. Oh, my God. Oh, preach it, woman. Preach it. Oh, blame Whitey. Blame Whitey. Oh, yes. Oh, and wait a minute. Before we get on the subject, you can't talk about black-on-black crime, even though it is at all-time highs. You can't do that because that's racist. But it's white people's fault because we aren't stopping and trying to put ourselves into the position of the black person. This coming from an extremely wealthy, well-off Hillary Clinton who happens to be white, who can't do anything wrong. That's what I want to do. Anyway. Oh, God, that woman makes me want to either puke or go shoot stuff. Yes, Slick, I'm with you. We got to plan a trip where we can, we got to plan somewhere where we can meet in the middle and go shooting and blow some stuff up. If we can't talk about it on the radio, well, then so be it. The NSA will, I think I saw him drive by. Anyway, you know what? That lady is completely stuck on stupid, and so are so many other people who are out there following her and kissing her ring. I would rather listen to nails on a chalkboard than listen to that old hag. Oh, heavens to Murgatroyds. Anyway, okay. Gotta put myself in the position of a black person. I grew up in a black neighborhood. I served along black men and women. I served along Hispanic men and women. I have gone into black communities, held their hands, I've prayed with them and prayed for them. But I'm not Hillary Clinton, and I am no way near tired. Oh, if you guys remember that ridiculous comment. Anyway, Miss Preachy Mom, shut the hell up. You're completely stuck on stupid, and that is all I've got for you. And, unfortunately, that is all we have time for this week, and God willing, the Stafford Voice will be back next week. If you aren't already doing so, follow me over on the Twitters at Stafford Voice or anywhere else out in social media world. All you got to do is just search for the Stafford Voice wherever you are. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can email them if you want. You can email them to me at thestaffordvoice@gmail.com. I personally respond to each and every comment that is sent my way. Now, again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your time, and until next week, thanks and God bless.